Hey, welcome to the Overture Pamphlet. My name is Rob, and I'm the host of this one-man show coming to you every Monday at 6 a.m. UK time. We are so close to Christmas. It's so scary. Honestly, the year is almost over already, but do not fret. I am here, and I am ready to talk about new stuff as usual. I think if you know me, of course, or if you know what I cover in that sense, like pop culture and all that stuff, you know that I will be talking about this, which is, of course, the Luigi Mangione extravaganza, I guess. Whatever is happening in the US right now is just insane. And I would venture to say is also very much linked with the very, I guess, dangerous state that the US has been descending in ever since. Well, I don't know, like you can trace it back to so many other problems, but I think very recently the elections were a big sign of where the US was at in terms of social division and like how fragmented the state is, the country is. Sorry, not the state, but that was crazy. And I mean, this is just a very interesting topic just in general because like how people are reacting to this, to the news of like the CEO being killed by this very young guy, Luigi Mangione. But also I think it's a huge signifier, I guess, of where the moral values are at currently and what are the Americans and like the citizens of the United States thinking right now. What are their main concerns and like who they trust and who they don't trust and why are they unhappy and where in which areas are they unhappy and what also motivates them to support someone or at the same time, I guess by the same token, villainize someone else in that sense. So we'll get into all of that. Like that is going to be a very good discussion. I'm gonna just go over like the whole story, like how I've read some articles and also this Luigi Mangione, what happened like the few months before this incident, what was his pattern and all that stuff, and like what possibly led him to do this and all that, and yeah, we'll discuss also the implications of this and all that could possibly happen after this, because it is a very strange and dangerous time, honestly. But before that, songs of the week. We are very close to the end of the month, as I said, and so we have to like start packing up this playlist for the month, the playlist for December. As I said, I think I won't be posting. Well, I will be definitely posting an episode for the 23rd of December, but I don't think I will be able to post up until probably like second week of Jan because I'll be off. I'll be on holiday. I'll be recharging and coming back better than ever. But yeah, let's talk about songs. First off, I want to talk about Australia by the Shins. Now, the way I did not know anything about the Shins at all, and I found out about them through none other than Azealia Banks on Twitter. One thing about Azealia Banks is that she is probably one of the most interesting and problematic figures, I guess, online. But at the same time, I think in what she does in her area, she's such a visionary, which is so interesting to see. Like she says some of the randomest and like craziest shit ever sometimes, but in other topics, like she really has very hot takes and hot opinions on the LGBT community and like politics and all that stuff. But besides from that, like outside of that department, which is not her main sphere, I guess, of action. If we talk about music, she has so many interesting takes on like what she thinks are the appropriate steps for certain pop stars to take and like who she would want some pop stars to collaborate with and also her takes on like who she thinks is like an untalented artist, and like who she thinks it's like actually talented and all that stuff. So I look out for her tweets mainly because of that. Recently, she had a very, 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 I guess, like heated conflict with Maddie Healy, none other than Maddie Healy as well. Both of them very problematic people in their own ways, but they had a back and forth that was very, very, I would say, very violent, very offensive. But that's besides the point. This is not the topic of the day, but yeah. So she basically said that she would want for Taylor Swift to collaborate with the Shins, like, well, the main writer of the Shins, because she thinks that if they join together, they could make the slayest white pop girl song ever. And I did not know anything about the Shins, so I thank Leslie Banks for putting me on that. So I went and checked some of the songs, and I fell in love with the song specifically. Well, I mean, all of their songs are actually very, very good. They have a bit of that like British rock vibe a bit. Like, I don't know. It's a Vampire Weekend, like the Smiths a bit. Like, it reminds me a bit of the Smiths. Like the Clash, all that. So, but in a more milder and, like, as she says, white white pop girl vibe. But I think what she's also getting at, in a way, is that I can see in some of their songs that they have a bit of a country element, which is very fitting for Taylor. And I can definitely honestly imagine a good pivot for Taylor if she actually did this. It would be interesting. Would she do that? I don't know. Probably not. But I can see the vision, Zelia. So I am honestly impressed by that. But yeah, Australia, such an interesting song. Again, in the same sphere of the Smiths and all that stuff. But I just love it. Like, it's very, very good. I thoroughly enjoy the song. The lyrics are very interesting, very, like, it's a splatter of, like, very weird words, like the Dodo's Conundrum, and, like, Duotone on the Wall, and the Android Conundrum as well. But it's just a very, like, the melody is incredible. I love the production of it. Very cool. There are some elements of countryside in that, so very, very cool. Loved it so much. Then I wanted to talk about Lipstick by Blue the Tiger. Now, I'm not really familiar with the artist itself, but I discovered it through this compilation that Bose makes with Enemy. I can't remember, but every year they make a compilation of songs, and I assume these artists write a song and record it specifically for this sort of compilation. And so for the year 2023, Blue the Tiger recorded a song called Lipstick, which is I don't even know how to explain the song, to be fair, because it's like a very weird mixture of genres. It's very pop music, of course, but it is also sort of R&B in some verses, and also sometimes like very EDM. I can't explain it, but it's just so good. I like the melodies as well, and it's just the production. I think it was what really captured the most, but captured my attention the most. It was just a very, very well organized track in that sense, and I just love the way it came out. So try and listen to this. Maybe you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah. Then I guess I just want to talk about this other song, and that's it, maybe, and we can put it to rest for this week. And that is Unlimited Sky by Tommy Heavenly 6. Now, this, if you guys know, some of you may know about this, Tommy Heavenly 6, you might know this band / singer from, if you are anime fans and you know, what is it called? Soul Eater, the anime. you remember specifically, I know this is so specific, but if you remember specifically the second opening, which I do, because like I love that opening, but the opening called Paper Moon, which is also sung by them basically, then you would know who I'm talking about. Like, you have to be very attentive to what happens on the anime scene. Well, to be fair, Soul Eater is like such an old anime now, but it is one of my favorite animes ever. And the second opening, I cannot stress enough, Paper Moon, is just one of the best tracks ever, like anime openings ever made. I cannot make the rules. It's just my favorite track. So good, so good, so good, so good. So I think for the longest time, like this Paper Moon was not on streaming. I can't remember specifically why, but I just never found it on streaming on Spotify or anything for the longest time. And then I think last year they managed to put it back on streaming. This song literally came out in 2008. Like, it's so old. Like, what the fuck? And then basically, well, I was listening. Like, I just had a phase again with Paper Moon, as I usually do, and I think the way the algorithm put me through a lot of anime or like just Japanese rock, like punk music, just recommended me more songs from Tommy Heavenly Six, and this one came up, which is called Unlimited Sky, and it is a very cool track. I just love Tommy Evelyn Six. I just cannot. It's just the right amount of punk music for me, and it's just like, I think punk music has to be, for me to make it work, has to be a bit pop and like a bit melodic in a way. Like, I don't like the heavy, shouting and growling and whatever. I just do love a bit of the punk pop moment. That's why Avril Lavigne worked so well for me, but that's besides the point. But this is a great track, and I do recommend you guys listen to that, and also Paper Moon, to be fair. I'm not gonna put it in the list because I just am obsessed with this song, period. Like, I have phases with the song every now and then, but this, I didn't hear it before. I never listened to Unlimited Sky before, so go listen to Unlimited Sky, and then if you like that, go listen to Paper Moon, and then watch also Soul Eater. That is one of the best animes ever made. That and Monogatari series as well. Oh my god, Monogatari is so fucking good. It's a jam. But anyways, yeah, listen to that if you like a bit of that vibe. If you are, it doesn't really matter if you're not fans of animes. I mean, you can still watch it, I guess, or you can still watch the anime if you want, but it is Japanese, but who cares? Like, it's just so good. Like, literally, like, the best track ever. It has a lot of, like, very high and low elements in the song. Like, I don't know. I think it works so well. It's less epic in theme and, like, in vibe compared to Paper Moon. It's more, like, pop punk adjacent, so that's much better. But Paper Moon is more, like, made for an opening for an anime that has to excite you. It is an action, shonen type of anime. So, yeah, just give it a go. Give it a go. Give it a go. Give it a go. But anyways, these are the songs. You can find them on the Overshare Pamphlet Songs of the Week December 2024, the last playlist of the year. So yeah, I mean, I will be updating it one last time for the next episode, but that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. And we have already the amount of songs, so I do recommend just having a go at this little playlist. It's actually so good. I love, honestly, these playlists that I made, the playlists of each month, because every now and then I just go to the older months, and I just like, they were sort of like a time capsule for the vibe that I was like in musically at that time. So it's just so good, and so I enjoy it. But best believe I will be carrying this on for the new year. So period. Anyways, now let's get into the main topic, the main girl, the main diva of the episode, who is Luigi Mangione. Now, first of all, I want to preface this by saying that I am Italian and I am supporting Italian lives. Now, do we condone violence? No, not at all. Not at all. Does it check out basically that it Like, he's an Italian man who killed like a mafia guy, another rich man. Well, I wouldn't say it's mafia coded, but I guess you can make an argument for that. I guess you can. Some people were saying on Twitter that he did this for also for his family, and that is so Italian of him. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, we love families. Um, but I think he's basically like second generation or third generation Italian. Um, so yeah, but he is like by name and by blood Italian. So interesting stuff. And it feels very interesting to see like how people are reacting online to this news that he's Italian and all that stuff. Like, it's just funny in some aspects. I mean, the matter itself is a bit of a delicate topic, I guess, for some people, but I think most of the Gen Z online has been reacting to this in a very interesting way, like unexpected way. Of course, older people are appalled by the way Gen Z are reacting to this and like turning it into a meme, into a whole. They were literally thirsting over this man because he's cute, and we cannot deny that, I guess. But yeah, like it's quite interesting. But I think in a way, the older generations don't get how we communicate and like why we turn these things in this way, and like where our moral values stand in that sense. I mean, in most cases, even people are like, first of all, it's a joke. Like, that's the first layer. And I think in a second instance, most of these people are like thirsting over him or like supporting him or whatever, are not condoning specifically the murder itself. And on a third layer, I think, which is the most important one, I think, is just like a general reaction that we have to bigger societal issues in that sense. Like, we champion people who technically do very bad things and who disrupt this society because we don't feel part of it, and we don't feel protected by the current status quo and the current institutions that manage our lives. Basically, that's sort of the point that I think is a bit missed. I do not condone, of course, certain memes about killing, like inciting violence and all that stuff, but also I think in a way older people are sort of missing the point, and I'm gonna try and mediate this in like the two sides in this episode, basically. But yeah, so anyways, I think you might have heard the story about this guy. He was a valedictorian high school graduate, and he went to like Ivy League University of Pennsylvania. He graduated in computer science, and he basically then went traveling for a year or something after graduating, and yeah, so basically, and it was found on the 4th, I believe, or this past Monday or something. It was found in a McDonald's in Pennsylvania with a bunch of evidence connecting him to the murder of this CEO. The CEO in question is the CEO of United Healthcare. So it's a healthcare, I guess, like company, like a private health company in that sense. So there is already a layer there that we're gonna get to in that sense. Like the whole health system in the US is a big part of this conversation, I guess. But yeah, so months before this murder happened, basically, Luigi Mangione was unavailable and like unreachable, even like by his family couldn't even reach him. So, and I think his mom even put a like a claim to find him or something to the police. She went to the police to ask for help to find this guy. So it was a whole mess. So a bit of background on him, I guess, apart from the Ivy League situation, like him being like a valedictorian child and everything else. Like, he was, of course, a very smart kid from this background, but I think what really strikes as the most interesting aspect of all this is that he was considered by everyone to be such a lovely person and a very dedicated person, really wanted to make a change and help people and just better himself, but also better society overall. Now, the pathway that led from that origin, I guess, to the murder is actually not that difficult to conceptualize, I guess. It really, I think, is a matter of, on one hand, a failed system, which is not sort of nurturing these people, and on the other hand, the curiosity of this guy bringing him to like to some sources that were potentially inciting violence in the wrong ways, I guess. So there's a lot there, but yeah. So everyone who had contact, like any sort of contact with him prior to this, all had to say that he was just like a brilliant guy, a very nice guy. Nothing ever like made him think that he could turn into an assassin and a killer. But I guess what really is interesting to see here is that publicly it is one thing to act in a certain way, but I think what really tells what you're going through is like your footprint sometimes nowadays, like your social media footprint and like your searches and like what you're using, what you're engaging with, because most of the times you are sort of like hidden by the social media, and like you can like have an anonymous account and like all that stuff, so you can like when you go out and meet other people in public, you have to filter yourself. But I guess when you're behind closed doors and you are on social media, you can sort of get rid of that mask and start, you know, exposing, I guess, your own real thoughts in that sense. So again, he's a very young person. I think he is still 26 to this day. He's currently, I think, detained in Pennsylvania, but they're trying to extradite him to New York because that's where the murder happened, in Manhattan. So basically, yeah, he disappeared for a bunch of months beforehand. He, I think the investigations happened to like also link him to a Reddit account called Mr. Cactus, first opened in 2016, and this account specifically was mostly about, well, used by him to talk about his own condition, his own health condition. This is where we link, you know, the CEO, the healthcare system, and his own motivations and essentially his own issues. So he said he has a specific condition called like spondylolisthesis, which is a condition where a bone in the spine slips out of alignment. And so basically he had constant back pain and back issues, right? Lower back specifically. He posted literally on his Twitter as well an x-ray scan of his like back. So you could see what happened to him after his surgery as well. He went through a surgery. But anyways, ever since he opened his account, he talked about how he had his issues. He had his issues ever since he was young. There's something that's been really I guess bothering him for so long. And then he said that he had his surgery in 2023, I think, and that he wrote that he actually managed to recover pretty well, and it was giving basically to other people on the Reddit on the subreddit basically all the information about like the surgery went through, like sort of spreading information, like helping people out who are going through the same issue, I guess. But anyways, he traveled a lot around the world, and basically he also appeared with his like Mr. Cactus account to write like some subreddit, like he made a final post like basically on the subreddit of Ted Kaczynski on May 2024, I think. And that is where I guess we start getting into a bit of the psyche of this person. Ted Kaczynski is a terrorist and basically is responsible for killing 3 people and injuring a bunch of other people by sending bombs by mail, basically. So yeah, but he also wrote a book called Industrial Society and Its Future, and is also pretty much known, this book, as the Unabomber Manifesto. And so it seems like in the last few months, he had been very much influenced by this book and by Ted Kaczynski. Not Krasinski. Oh my God, please, Ted Kaczynski. And basically, he commented in his last post that he made on subreddit. It was about like technology, just basically consuming people in China. Like it was a series of like video clips showing people who were super absorbed, I guess, by streaming and by like watching their phones and everything else. So and then he also commented on this subreddit about the manifesto itself. So we know that he read it, and he sort of not justified, but like he was giving credit to this man, basically, right? So he was saying that apart from all the bad things he has done, the manifesto itself is a good commentary, I guess, on the status of society and like where it's heading, basically. Now, to give you all a brief summary of what this book is about, this book is sort of a critique of post-industrial society and like the, I guess, dangers of how in the industrial society has been oppressing people and sort of creating very unhappy lives, basically, right? Like that's the main point. Like the industrial society is just engrossing people in, and the more you join in the industrial society, the more you lose autonomy and your own health and your own happiness, basically, right? So what really happened here is that in this book, apart from, of course, criticizing the left, he criticizes the left by saying that he's not far right in the way he criticizes it. So basically, he's saying that the left wing, in that sense, is supposedly trying to preserve the industrial system itself nowadays, because it is all about moralities and all that stuff. Like they support moral values and like they support a lot of superficial matters, according to him, but in all essential respects, most leftists are over socialized and they want to make, for example, black man conform to white middle class ideals. So like they support on the superficial matter, like the cultural aspects that make African American in that sense, right? But they still endorse the white middle class ideals and try to bring Black African American people into that system, right? So yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting in some way, I guess, the way he's putting this. But anyways, but it is also in a way like the solution it gives to this like very problematic industrialized society is quite jarring, I guess. So we'll get into that. But he says basically that through technology, we are giving away our own personal freedoms, and like we are sort of giving away a lot of our basic like skills away to technological advancements. And every time we endorse a new advancement in technology, we lose control in some new area, basically, right? So, for example, he was saying cars have become so ubiquitous that you can't walk in any places anymore. You have to use a car. Like every road now that is built sort of impedes you from actually walking. Like it's much more difficult to walk around than using a car. Or same thing with using a bus. It's even if you then don't have a car, then you are supposed to take public transport, and then you become even less, I guess, independent, because you're not even driving the car, like the bus itself, you're a passenger on it, so there's even less freedom involved in that. Like that's sort of the mentality that is on this, right? And so then he also goes further into like genetic engineering and all that stuff. So it's quite a lot of like, it's a full rejection of the industrial society in all aspects, right? Computers, we are assigning a lot of decisions, like we're giving decision powers to computers, and we are forgetting like why we created computers in the first place. There's a lot of great points I think like we can all agree on, and there's nothing new that he's talking about here. There's a lot of like other philosophers who already talked about, you know, post-industrial society and like the failure of retaining our own autonomy in that sense. He also does talk in some way about like the usage of drugs, and basically how drugs usage has become so high because specifically the world has become more depressing, and we are focusing more on like goals that are not, he calls these activities like surrogate activities, like they're not actual real goals. Like the real goals according to him are securing food and fulfilling like other basic biological needs, basically, right? The surrogate activities for him are like having a job, or all things that are created by society that are not actually needed in that sense, right? Like we create a system that makes you want to have a job, or like makes you need to have a job to sustain your life, but basically the biological needs that you have are being sort of, in a way, like how to say, they're not totally fulfilling anymore because you get them so easily nowadays, right? Like it's so easy to feed yourself. It's no longer a fulfilling accomplishment, right? Well, there are things like getting a job or like all that stuff have been labeled, I guess, as fulfilling by upper classes and industrial society, whoever controls industrial society, right? But anyways, that's beside the point. So he rejects industrial society and the gig economy in general, and like for him, the only way out is to, which to me is very dangerous in this sense, like this is where we get to the terrorist and the very dangerous territory, I guess. He endorses conflict, and he endorses basically the only way out for him is to like let the system destroy itself, and like masses, he endorses like mass conflict, and to topple down power holding elites. So yeah, he also in a way advises people not to strive for gaining political power. Like political power is not the need here, because the political power he's talking about is still endorsing basically the industrial society, if that makes any sense. But and he says that both left wings and right wing parties will never give up technology, because ultimately they create the power, and that those are the tools they use to control other people. So yeah, he doesn't work within any existing structure of industrial society. He instead wants to see living in industrial society get so bad that the hardships can only be blamed on the system. So he wants to like create an internal sort of collapse. But yeah, so he says also that what he pushed him to like, well, what pushed this terrorist to like to kill people was basically, he said that he had to send a message to the public in some way to get a lasting impression. Now keep this in mind, because he's basically saying that the only way for him to create change and like to make people open their eyes is to sort of like initiate a chain of violence in that sense, right? And it's very similar to like the pattern that we're seeing with him, or like at least the apparent motivations behind his behind Luigi Mangione's murder. Well, well, whatever. His whole plan is a bit convoluted. I guess people are just like throwing out there a lot of conspiracy theories that he has a greater plan, and there's other people involved in behind this whole murder and all this stuff. But I think actually the answer is quite simple, and it's basically I would say he took it upon himself to do sort of the same, right? Like he read his book. I think he was so impressed by this philosophy, I guess, and he too believed that the only way to get out of this corrupt system was to create change. He did on social media complain about the health system specifically, how terrible it is. I think he got in touch with a UK freelancer and he exchanged with him several conversations about how he was very envious of the UK system and how the national health is something that he could never achieve in the US because it's so expensive. And so I think his line of thought was that because of his health issues, he had to experience so many hardships, and also because of his family's health issues, he had to experience a lot of hardships, and paying for the health insurance and everything in the US is such a hefty, I guess, challenge for the average American. So he was very much, unhappy with the system and the way it was working, and I think he took it upon himself to basically try to create a change, however he saw it fit in that sense. Like, he thought change could be basically to go for the higher ups and kill basically a CEO. So yeah, I think is just trying to galvanize in a way anyone, everyone, just incite people to do the same. And I think he's specifically leveraging upon the general unhappiness I think Americans have with the system. Now, on one hand, I guess he's speaking the truth in terms of how bad the system is and how unhappy the people are. And I think also in a way he's also a product of the system. Like, he wouldn't have felt the need to go to these lengths where the system supporting him. Like, the system failed him basically, right? Like, I'm not simply talking about the health system, but just in general, like everything surrounding it, like, social support and everything. Like, it was just a complete failure. Like, the US has failed basically a young man, and he was it must have been in such a lost state of mind that the only way for him to get out of it was to just start researching in his own ways how to create change, and he got into very dangerous territories that led him to basically use violence. So yeah, and in a way I think this is also a big commentary on how the American system as well, the justice system, the justice and everything, like the judicial system is so poor and so unhelpful that it really pushes people to just take matters into their own hands and actually resort to violence to create change, right? So yeah, it's multiple layers. I think he definitely I guess tendencies to get influenced by these writings, and they found when they caught him in the McDonald's in Pennsylvania, his notebook and a lot of letters, writings basically, where he was detailing all of his plans and also his unhappiness with the system. So the line of thought was very, very, very similar to what was in this book, I believe. And so it's just, I think personally, it's just a simple matter of a guy who got so out of it that he just fell under the, I want to say the false promises of a very dangerous book, right? So yeah, now the reaction online I think is just something else completely, in terms of, I think it's a teller from Gen Z is trying to spin this around, saying that he's actually he shouldn't be put in trial, he actually didn't do anything wrong and all that stuff. And I think the general part is that I agree with other people saying that it's very dangerous to endorse a guy like this and to support him. But also I would like to say to the older people is that this is also the system you have created in a way, and I think to protect your children and to protect every other younger person, I guess, around in the US and everywhere else, you should strive to change the system itself rather than alienate young people even more, and just understand what are the real thoughts behind those posts. Young people are unhappy with the way the system works, and if something doesn't change, many more cases of this Luigi Mangione will probably happen. So, and this is what Luigi Mangione wants, basically, right? He wants more people to do what he does. But again, violence is not the answer. We need to be, I guess, sort of concerting altogether and like try to change the system from within in more peaceful manners, right? And I do believe that the private healthcare system in the US is crap, to be quite honest. It is probably some of the worst things that could ever happen. And I'm sure one of the main missions of the US should be right now to like solve this and to like find a better way of supporting an entire population, right? Which honestly is still very unhappy. So yeah, I mean, I've heard so many stories from my friends as well of how expensive even it is to simply call an ambulance in the US. It's like fucking insane. And if you don't have a job, or if you don't have like an insurance that covers most costs, you'll be paying so much money. So many also surgeries and like very important surgeries are becoming increasingly expensive. Like I'm talking about life-saving surgeries are becoming so expensive that not many people can afford it anymore, and it's just getting out of hand. I understand that it's easier for us to speak because European countries are much smaller. Each of them are much smaller compared to the US. The US is such a huge country, but there must be another way to promote national health and like easy access to national health. And I hope that, again, older people do not start alienating younger people even more because of this accident, but instead try to understand what's the real issue at hand and try to make it better. Like just think it through, man. Think it through and have a less accusatory, I guess, view of the world. And again, young people should also be very careful and not get super involved in this, I would say. Like, it's not a like, it is silly to joke about this, of course it's fine, whatever, but at the end of the day, it is a very dangerous situation and a very dangerous mindset this guy fell into, and you do not want to be in that same headspace. You don't want to get to that level. You want to be critical, of course, of the system you live in, but you also don't want to resort to this type of violence to create change. Like, at the end of the day, we're talking about death and someone who died and a family that's mourning this guy, and also, on the other hand, this Luigi Mangione probably now has burned his whole future. Like, his whole future has just been obliterated because of the actions that he took. So, yeah. Very hard, very, very hard topic, I guess, today, but damn. It is what it is. But I would say just, I had so many thoughts about this topic because it's just been constantly on the media recently, so we just need to talk about it, I think, in a very constructive manner, but we need to talk about it. We need to have a conversation about this. So yeah, but anyways, I hope you guys have fun with the rest of the week, and I hope you are all planning to have some nice holidays, have a little break, just, do what you need to do, celebrate Christmas with your parents and your families and your relatives and all, just have a lot of food, just, relax, and I'll see you next episode. Bye.